He's the author of a book called Secrets of an Elusive Father. So that's enticing. You want to come up and tell us all about it? Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. Alors, bonjour tout le monde, et merci d'être ici aujourd'hui. So, before I talk about my book and my experience as a first-time author, I want to express my gratitude for a group of volunteers who are providing authors and artists with the opportunity to showcase their work at this venue, the Ottawa International Book Expo. Not only is the Book Expo supporting awareness on literacy issues, but it's also helping a charitable organization by sharing the proceeds of this event with the Ottawa Mission. If you're from out of town, the Ottawa Mission provides food and shelter to homeless people in Ottawa. Now, a few words about my book. It's a non-fiction book. It's a true story. I did not have to develop the characters or invent some convoluted plot. The story was given to me. All I had to do was write it. And believe me, the plot is intricate. I couldn't have invented it myself if I tried. The story is about family connections and well-guarded family secrets. The family connections part of the story began in the early stages of the pandemic, when vaccines were not yet available, and our only protection was to stay home and wear a mask when we ventured out. During that period, I believe that a lot of people spent time on their computers, possibly checking off these items on their to-do list. You know, all these things that we want to achieve but never have time to do. One such person, named Jim, was conducting research to find information about her cousin's long-lost father, who happens to be my father as well. Sharon's cousin, named Diane, had never met her father. All she knew about him was his name, and that he had lived in Ottawa or possibly in Hull, Quebec. Diane had been raised in Madoc, Ontario, and was now living in Belleville. Sharon conducted her research using my father's full name as a guide. One day she came across my sister Sandra's obituary, dating from 2014. As she read the obituary, she recognized the name of Diane's father. In addition, there was a picture of Sandra. Sharon could see the family resemblance, and bingo, she knew she was at the right place. Then Sharon contacted me through social media. She'd picked my name from Sandra's obituary. At first, I didn't want to contact this strange woman. I was worried about identity theft. But Sharon's message stated that she had important information about my father that she wanted me to know. I suspected it was about my half-sister, but one can never be too careful. So I hesitated for a while. Then one of my own cousins said, "This is serious. I think you should contact this woman." So I did. And I will always be very grateful to Sharon, because that is how I was eventually connected with my sister, Diane. We share the same father. Our father died some 30 years ago, and our respective mothers are long gone as well, but definitely not forgotten. Diane and I are the only two siblings left in our blended family. I had known for quite some time that I had a half-sister living somewhere in Ontario, but Diane did not know she had a half-brother. Diane did not bear our family's surname, our father's surname, so I had no way of trying to locate her. Once Diane and I were connected, we communicated by email for a few months before meeting in person. As we both live in different cities, email was a convenient way to communicate. Also, when you were in the early stages of a new relationship, you want to express your thoughts well. Every word matters. So it's much more prudent to communicate in writing. This way, you can edit your text ad infinitum before you press the send button. There was a certain hesitation in the beginning of our relationship. Both Diane and I torn between the need to be loyal to our respective mothers, while at the same time being curious about this new sibling. After all, our respective mothers had been hurt by the same man, our father. In the end, we both decided that since our parents were deceased, we should take advantage of the opportunity being offered to us. And it has been a wonderful experience ever since, with never a dull moment, I might add. I grew up with my father, but Diane had never met him, so she did not know what he looked like. So I offered to provide photos and all the information she would want to know about her father. Well, little did I know that Diane would be instrumental in providing very surprising information about this rather mysterious man that we call our father. Yes, quelle surprise. So Diane and I met in person for the first time a few months after exchanging numerous emails. We met in a restaurant, actually at Milestones, which is just here next door to this building. That was back in August 2020. Diane came with her husband, their married daughter and her husband, and my husband came with me. It was a husband's club. So I'm happy to say that Diane and family are here today, including cousin Sharon, that strange lady that started the whole story. Most members of my family mentioned in the book are here today. Some have never met before. They're meeting for the first time here today. So when my speech is over, if you see a bunch of people all excited, you'll know what is going on. At our initial supper 3 years ago, I gave Diane a series of pictures of our father from his childhood all the way to the end of his life. She took them home, and when she looked at her mother's photo albums, now that she knew what her father looked like, she found pictures of her mother with our father going back to the 1940s when the two were together. From time to time, Diane would ask if our father had been adopted? I would say no. I had known my paternal grandparents, as well as my father's siblings, my aunts and uncles, and from all appearances, it looked like he came from a traditional family. There were no doubts in my mind there. So at some point I asked Diane, why are you asking this? That's when she produced a very old document she had had in her possession for a very long time. This document was about to change everything I knew about my father. The document prompted us to start researching our father's past. A rather colorful one, I might add. The more we searched in our family history, the more secrets would surface. With time, we were able to put together a lot of the pieces of our family puzzle. There will always be pieces missing, but now we know so much more about our father, more than we ever dreamed possible. Every time Diane and I would share our story with family or friends, there would always be somebody who would say, "Oh my God, this is so incredible. You should write a book." Well, neither one of us had ever undertaken to write a book before. I guess it's never too late, even when you're in your 70s. So, in December 2021, I decided to give it a try, and I wrote a first manuscript. 1 year later, after completing version number 7 of the manuscript, the book was published 4 days before Christmas. The book is entitled Secrets of an Elusive Father. And by the way, if you want to take a closer look at it, I have a booth just down there, and you can come and look at it later. Maybe even buy it. I was very fortunate that the publisher found the story interesting. In my initial contact with the publisher, he told me that my story had legs. I guess one could say, let your finger do the walking or do the typing. Recently, the publisher advised me that my book was given the staff pick designation. So I called the publisher to ask what was their criteria to select my humble little book with this recognition. And they said that it was because they found the story fascinating. I never thought that the story would raise a great deal of interest outside of our family and circle of friends, but I was wrong. When the book was first published, I thought, okay, once friends and family buy a copy, that'll be the end of it for the sales. Well, wrong again. Some strangers are buying the book. A few days ago, I received my first book sales report for the month of January. The book is selling well in Canada. It's doing even better in the States. And it's even selling in the UK and in Australia. Who knew? I don't think I have relatives there. Unless my sister has a few more surprises up her sleeve. Just kidding. Okay. I guess the message here is that as human beings, we all have our differences. But it seems that family stories have an international appeal. The book is about my world being turned upside down. It's about finding out my father was not the man I thought he was. It's about finding out his true identity, and in doing so, finding our own lineage. This might sound like a commercial for Ancestry.ca, but really, it's been quite a revelation. In the end, I did take a DNA test just to confirm some of the shocking details I was discovering. So the book is part memoir, part uncoverings of our family tree, which involved consulting a number of reference materials, as well as reaching out to members of my father's extended family to confirm the accuracy of the facts that were being revealed to us. I guess one could say our family tree is more like a forest than a tree. Working through numerous versions of my manuscript was actually quite rewarding. With every step I took, with every significant piece of information I discovered, I was getting a clear picture of who I am and where I come from. I have to say that making such consequential discoveries so late in my life, it can be difficult to absorb, to process, and I know my sister feels the same way. I was 40 years old when our father died, and I thought I'd known him well throughout our time together. In reality, I knew very little about him and of his past. He shared very little with me when he was home. He was very quiet at home. But he came alive at parties where he would entertain family and friends with his accordion and telling jokes. Being connected with my newfound sister has opened many doors. I've learned so much about our parents' struggles, the sacrifices they made, the difficult choices they faced in order to live by the rules imposed upon them by their religious belief. The three people involved in this love triangle were fervent Catholics, and in the 1940s, the church doctrines defined their morals. From the very beginning of our relationship, so often Diane and I would come across unpredictable coincidences that would always amaze us. It was as if some supernatural forces were steering us in the right direction in our search for the truth about our family. We like to think that the spirit of those gone before us were giving us a push in our quest for answers. I wrote the book in English, but it will be released in French as well in a few months. I will now switch to French for a few moments to talk about a specific story in the book. Donc, j'aimerais dire quelques mots en français concernant une autre partie du livre. Un mois après avoir retrouvé ma sœur, un autre membre de la famille s'est manifesté. Cette fois-ci, c'est un cousin. Je pense bien qu'encore une fois, la pandémie y est pour quelque chose, car la découverte s'est faite, encore une fois, grâce à l'usage des ordinateurs. Donc, Pierre, mon nouveau cousin, est le fils d'une des sœurs de ma mère. Ma tante avait eu un enfant alors qu'elle n'était pas mariée. Comme ça s'est passé en 1952, il n'était pas question à l'époque qu'une fille-mère puisse garder son enfant. Les mœurs du temps l'ont forcée à ce qu'elle donne son enfant en adoption. Malheureusement, lorsque nous avons été réunis avec Pierre, sa mère biologique était déjà décédée. Mais Pierre a été adopté par une bonne famille. Il a eu une belle enfance. Et c'est un homme absolument formidable, avec qui j'ai beaucoup en commun. Et c'est toujours un immense plaisir de passer du temps avec lui et sa conjointe Danielle. Pierre et Danielle habitent à Mirabel, mais ils sont également avec nous aujourd'hui. Maintenant, un petit retour en anglais pour le mot de la fin. As I shared my story with various people, I've come to realize that we all have family secrets. Many of us have experienced family difficulties and often even traumatic situations. My hope is that by making this story public, readers will see that they're not alone in their struggles. And to use an old cliche, love conquers all. Thank you very much for your attention. Merci.